Hello everyone, welcome to Code with Femi. It is amazing to have you guys here again. um, we've been going through the ASP.NET Core MVC Crash Course series. For those of you who have missed the past videos, I would encourage you to go watch. There's a lot to learn. In this actual video, we're going to be looking at this actual one. I was thinking, because I actually thought of it, that it's best to actually just speak around the model, and then we speak about it. We go through the controller and the view, because this three actually ties together. They actually link together in a way. And I hope you guys enjoy this session. Stay tuned. MVC stands for Model View Controller, and in your MVC applications, these three things actually are the key things for you to be able to develop a solid MVC web application. And in terms of your model is actually it's actually the class that we implement for us to be able to interact with the database, and also it's also the same component that we actually use to get the data to be presented to the user via the controller. So the controller is actually just the place where it goes through the flow. It actually connects the view to the model, and in your actual controller, you want to implement services. Actually having services to be able to carry out the business logic and all of those core aspect of the actual domain. And the view is just to present to the user the information. So let's actually jump straight into the actual code. And in there, how do you create your actual controller? The first thing you do is you right click. You are inside of the controllers folder. You just right click there and actually say add controller. You can see right there we have three options. You can actually implement this two. So this last two is mostly if you want to scaffold the actual controller from, let's say, from a model. So if we try this, for instance, this is just going to try to set up like a CRUD action for you on the fly. We're just gonna call this person controller, and inside of the person controller, what do you see? You see that it's actually just gonna create all the the scaffolded options. And also one thing I want to mention is that controller is actually a collection of actions. You can see here, this is an action, that's an action, that's an action. It's a collection of action, and it actually helps you to be able to manage and control what you display to your users on the view. So you can see here that we have like the full CRUD operation in here. And also another option is that you can actually do is if you say create controller, you can actually generate your actual controller from a model, and as well as from a you can see you can specify what model you want to generate your controller from. And that can also, you can also like select a data context class, and you can also in a way select what your layout is. Or you can see, since we're using view start already as our file to actually like specify our layout, you don't have to specify it, and then you can give it a name. But this actually helps you to generate the views, reference script libraries, use a layout page. So it's all your option on what to do. But for this actual video, we just want to create our own, like just set up a simple basic one and actually just walk through it easily. So we're gonna create a new one and call it, I just want to call this one about. It's gonna be an empty MVC controller and in here, don't forget, any controller you want to create must be suffixed with the keyword controller. And you can see there that controller is very key, and it must inherit from the controller, the MVC controller class. You can see there, and this actually enables you, it has all these goodies that you can actually use. You can see right there, there's view component. We're going to touch on view component, partial view, and it makes life a lot easy for you to actually just hook into that, what has been developed within the framework for you to use for your controller. And in there you can see we have a controller, and right there you have a controller, but now this controller does not have a view yet. And you'll be asking me, so how do I create a view? Before I do that, there's one thing I want to tell you. There is something called view discovery mechanism. That view discovery mechanism will try to find a view for this actual action. And how does it do that? It actually looks into the view folder and actually checks if it can find a folder that matches the name of your controller, which is, for this example, about. And inside of the about, you will try to find a razor page called index. If you can't find it there, then it will go into the shared folder and actually look for the same file called index.cshtml. And I'm gonna just show you that now. Let's just run this app and actually see what I mean by that. So the app is loaded. Let's just actually go to about. Let's see. So as you can see right there, it's actually trying to look for a view index in that location, which is this location right here. You can see it's trying to look for the actual this index.cshtml from in the about folder, but there's no about folder. In the shared as well, we don't have an index page, and as well as the pages /shared, we don't have an index page there as well. So let's go resolve this. So what you want to do now is to create a view for this actual action. Is you need to actually just set up a new folder that matches the name of your controller. So about is the name of it's about controller, but the actual, this is just a suffix, don't forget. The actual name is just that section there. So about, it has to match, and then you can now create your index page in there. So index page, can add an empty razor view in there, which is going to be your index.cshtml. So just bear in mind, whatever name your action is, if you're not going to specify like passing a view name in there, it has to, because the actual view discovery mechanism will try to use that name to go find the file for your view. So just bear that in mind. But we have a page now, and basically this is what it looks like. And we can actually just put in a h2 here and just say about page. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, the web app is loaded. Let's go to about, then press enter, and you can see there that we have about us page. And you see, so now we have a view for the actual for the actual about us page that we've just in controller that we've just created. So it's using that. So the next question you want to ask is that, how do I pass in data into this actual about us page? How do I dynamically pass in data? So this is where you can actually either call the database through the the domain services, or you can actually just you can even create static data if you want to, and we can actually do that just for an example. And that actually takes me to the next thing I would like to discuss, which is actually your models. So for your actual UI application, which is your web application, you need to just ensure that you passing in view models into your views, because there are cases where you would actually implement some models in here which are going to be your domain entities, which would be used for the database. So when we actually, because the plan is to, in the identity, when we do the identity video, we're going to relocate that data into the infrastructure and actually create maybe like one domain entity, so that you can actually know the difference, because your view model is actually used to present data to your user on your view. So your view is this, right? And you just want to pass in a view model in here. So this is how you do it. But before we do that, let's just create a simple view model here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say about, I'm going to call it about view model. That would be the name of the view model. So this actually carries data that my users would see. So I'm just gonna say string, I'm gonna say name, I'm just gonna say last name. Let's just use this as an example. Okay, so this is your about view, or no, let's just say description here. Okay, this is actually it. Inside of your about index page, you just want to like make sure you reference this view model that you just created. Okay, so just like that. Then you can actually just maybe, you know, it depends on whatever you want to do. Yeah, you can actually just think you can also create what we have here just to make it nice, and just stick it in here, and we can actually just copy that, put that right there. So this is going to be h1, and then we can actually just remove that for our about us and actually say that this is the story of the author. So we can have something like this of that. Then you can say add model. Also, when you say model, yeah, so when you want to like start like assessing the properties inside of this model, you just have to use a capital letter M here. So just bear in mind there's a difference. There's capital letter M here, there's small letter M there when you're trying to like ensure that you register a model for your view. So there, to use it, capital letter M at model dot whatever property. So the ones we have is name and description, right? So we can just say that's the name of the author, and then we can have another paragraph to just say this is actually the story of the author. Okay, so this is actually our basic about us view, and we're using the about view model. One thing we have not done yet is we have not actually like done anything yet here. What we can actually just do is we can actually just do something like this to just set up a data in here, static data. So we can actually say code with Femi. Okay, and then this description can just be I love coding on YouTube. Okay, that will be the description there. So we have like a view model now that we can use, and what we can now do is in our controller, this view doesn't have a model passed in yet, so we can now say var model equals to new about view model. Okay, just to instantiate that about view model. You can see right there we resolve that. So we pass that same model that we've registered on our view into the view like that from the controller. You can see. So when we run this now, you should be able to see that data that we set inside of the view model, this actual data coming up inside of our view. And also you can also put a breakpoint here. That's the good thing about the views as well. You can actually like troubleshoot them if you want to. So you can put a breakpoint there, add your model into a watch, see what what properties are in there. You can check the graph of the actual objects you're trying to debug. So it gives you that flexibility. You can see now it's actually up. So let's just go to /about. Okay, and see there it's actually coming in here, and you can see there that it's actually referencing that name there. So let's continue. Let's say enter. So you can see right there about us, this is the story of the author, coded Femi coding on YouTube. So you can see like it's really cool. Like now you have a page, which is nice, like, and that is the actual flexibility that MVC actually offers you, where you can actually set your data dynamically, and you can change this whatever form or shape you want to. Another one I would like to quickly touch on is your partial view. So in terms of your actual view, in cases where you want to, like, there's a section of your view that you want to really reuse in many places. And an example is maybe you have like a banner, a marketing banner that you want to like display for multiple, in multiple pages. So what you can actually do is you can actually use a partial view for that, where you want to just view content, you want to display specific content. And how you want to do how you can do that is, let's say that you have something like this. You have another paragraph here. Let's say this is actually a paragraph, and inside of this paragraph this is actually a marketing banner. Okay, but this same marketing banner that you have here now, you want to put that as well inside of this place. Okay, you want to put that in here. So instead of you doing this duplication, you can actually create a partial view for it, and I'll show you that now quickly. So that's the next thing we want to do. That's another type of view that you can have in a case where you're not dealing with a full view, you are just dealing with a partial view and that you want to share. So you can see there's already some partial view in here. This is actually a partial view, and you can see it has the login component, the actual sign-in and all of that is in there. And so you can actually create yours as well. So let's create ours. Create a simple partial view, and actually just and also bear in mind, for your partial view you just use an underscore to start first. So underscore, and then you give your partial view a name. We're just going to call this marketing banner, just for an example. And inside of your marketing banner you can just stick that actual value in there. And what you can now do is, your partial view is ready. You can call it anywhere in any section of your view. So right there you can actually just say await html.partial async, then in there you just pass in the actual partial view, which is marketing banner. Okay, that's all you need to do, and this will actually render it there. And just to test this, I'm just going to make sure that we don't have anything in here yet, so that we can see. And also another thing that we need to just do is, in our layout, I'm tired of typing in the URL all the time. I want to put it as part of the menu. And how can I do that? I just have to like put it in there, in this menu structure that they have here going on. Just gonna zoom out a little bit so you can see in there. I'm just gonna say about. It's gonna say about. Okay, so let's run this. As you can see right there, the actual about there, we have it on the menu now. You can just click on it there, and you will see there that it's gonna try to render this page, and as well as you can see we have a marketing banner, which was what we just did now. And if you go to home, you see that we don't have any marketing banner. So let me just copy the same partial view now into the actual like the home default page, which is this one. Just want us to put it in there. So we have a marketing banner now. Let's run it again. So the page is loaded. You can see home page already has the marketing banner. Now if I go to about us, let's just remove this breakpoint. Let's continue. You see there that it's also reflecting there, which is really nice. Yeah, so it's like, it helps you to reuse the code, so you don't have to duplicate your code everywhere. It helps you to actually save a lot. You just create one component. You can have this for a dialog box, maybe alert, if you want to alert notifications. Like, the options are endless. And the good thing about it as well is that you can also pass in a model into it if you want to. So whatever type of model, you just have to go onto the partial view and make sure that you specify what type you're expecting it to have. So in there I can actually say model. Let's just say for this example sake, I want it to take in about about view model. And in there I can also still say at model.name. I can use whatever properties that is in that model, but it's just that wherever it's being invoked or wherever it's being called has to pass in a data, or we just have to make sure that we do a check before we can use whatever properties, because this could be null. So like putting a question mark there is just saying that if this is null, then don't bother rendering or accessing that property. But if it's not, then show me the name. Okay, so and we're doing this on the actual so for this about view model, it's not something that the index home page index has, but the about index page has it. So we can literally just pass that into it by just putting in next as a parameter into that actual partial and synchronous method. You can also use F12 to see what different types they have. So we're using HTML helper to render the partial view, and you can see that the partial name and as well as the model. You can also pass in view data if you want to. So the options are quite, you've got options to use. Let's refresh this and let's actually see. So as you can see right there, this is the home page. The home page still shows you the marketing banner, but there's no information there. If I go to the about, you can see that actually has further information, and this is because that we're passing in the the about view model into that actual partial view. So you can actually pass in whatever view you want to. You're not restricted. You can do whatever you like, and then but you just have to make sure that whatever is calling it has that model available or not, and then you just have to prevent it from from throwing an exception here if the actual model is null. So but this is actually it for actual partial view. The other one I would like to touch on is view component. So view component is actually similar to partial view, but the actual difference is that for view component you can actually have logic. You can implement logic within view component, and also you can interact with the database. You can retrieve data from the database through a view component and actually display that on your view as part of your view. And I'm going to show you an example now. So what we can do is we can actually just create a simple folder. We can just create a folder structure because we don't have a view component folder. We just call this view components. So you have a view component, and in there you can actually create your first view component. So let's just call this blog. I'm just gonna use this as an example. Blog list view component. Okay, blog list view component, and just pay attention to that as well. So the same convention also follows view component. You have to suffix it with view component, and it has to inherit from view component. Okay, just bear that in mind. View component, singular, not the plural one. So it's just singular, then you can just resolve it. As you can see right there, we have a view component now, and the method that actually you need to implement is public. You can either implement the synchronous one or the asynchronous one, but I'm just going to implement the asynchronous one, which is this one. So it has to return iView component result, and then you just have to say invoke async. Okay, and also pass in parameters into it if you want to. So but for this demo we're not really gonna do that. So what you want to now do is you might want to just create a new view model for this actual component. We can also still create it in here. So we can call this blog list view model. Okay, blog list view model. This is gonna be our view model, blog list view model, and in here we're just gonna say string name, then we can just say ratings, and just make that integer, and then we can have like a method in here, string, to say get star ratings. Okay, this will definitely just have a switch, and inside of the switch you just pass in the ratings, and actually say that in a case where it's 1, then return 1 star. Okay, like that. And actually have something like this. Just do it up to 5 star. So 5 star, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we just have the same story there. This one will be 4. Can actually make this default. Actually, let's make this default. Oh no, default. Let's make it 5. Move that one there, make this one 3, and then we make this one 2. Okay, like that. So you have that, and then what we can now do is we can now say default. So your default will just be return string dot empty. Let's just return an empty string if you don't have any of these cases. But you can see there we have this this view model that actually just gets the star ratings. And what we can now do is inside of our, so what I'm just gonna do is for this example, I'm just gonna create a new interface here. And for this, we're just gonna create a new interface, a simple interface here. Interface, and then I'm just gonna call this iData service just for an example. And iData service will just would just return a list of list of blog, and then in there we can just say get blog list. Okay, that's the contract we're trying to implement. And then we can now create a model in here, and this is where your domain your domain models actually comes to play, which will be blog. We can just call this blog, and inside of your blog this will be a public class, and then your blog would actually be something. This is just gonna be basic. I just want to make this basic, so let's just say public. Let's give this a GUI, and actually or let's just give it a name just for an example, a name. Then let's just okay, let's just have something basic for now. So we have a name there. Let's see what our view blog model has. It has ratings as well. Okay, let's put ratings there as well. Okay, yeah, the ratings. Actually, let's put the actual ID there for now, because I really want to explain something here. Okay, okay, so this is actually something that you would actually like deem as a basic domain entity, because this thing actually speaks to the database, and we won't actually go as far as implementing the database core. And the reason being, we just want to keep it as simple as possible and straight to the point. I'm just going to create a data service here, that implements that interface. So data service will be in the infrastructure, and in there we're just going to use this actual contract that we have here. So let's just grab that contract, then we actually use that contract in here. So it's going to be a public actually let's make this a task. Okay, let's say as async, let's say task. Okay, let's make it a task, and then it's gonna be a public. Okay, and then this will just return. Let's just await. I'm just gonna create a mock data here. Like I said, we're not doing any data call or anything in this actual video, just to save time. So we're just gonna say await task dot run. So I'm just gonna create like a mock data in here and just say new lists, new list of blogs, and then just gonna create some blogs in here with name, and actually just say my first journey to Africa. Okay, don't forget the name, the properties name, and then put that there. So let's let's try to put some structure in here so that it can make it much more readable. Okay, always bear that in mind. Your code must be readable, and then you can just say my first history book, my first YouTube video. Okay, are we forgetting something? Yes, we are. So I'm just gonna put some ratings in here and say my rating for this one is 4, and my rating for this one is, let's make it 3. Then my ratings for this one is, sorry, ratings for this one is 5. No, that. Okay, so we have like a dummy data. So this is actually just, I'm just gonna say to do here update mock data to real data. Okay, so we have something like this, and then we actually just we're just going to call that. So we have that. So don't forget, once you create a news, because it's actually a service, just inherit from my data service. You have to make sure that you inherit from data service, data service. And once you do that, just make sure that also one thing you have to also do is you have to just make sure that the signature actually matches, because you remember we've actually changed the signature now. So we just have to go there and go update this one. They should match now. And always remember, all the actual contracts you actually put into your interface is public, like automatically. You don't have to specify public there anymore. So it's going to expose this actual implementation to whoever consumes or uses this interface. So that's the interface we've got now. So now the next thing you need to do is you need to register it, because that is actually a new dependency that we've created. Okay, let's copy one of that, and then you can just say data service, and then there you can actually say data service. Okay, and we just resolve that. Okay, I think it's happy. I want to believe so. Yeah, so we've registered it now. We have our service, and then we have this component can now actually make use of that service. Okay, so in there we just say private read only data service underscore data service. Okay, then you can actually just resolve resolve that actual type. Then we can actually just pass in our information into this actual constructor. We inject that dependency to the constructor. Then we have data service there. Then what we can now do is we can actually just say view model. So before we do that, we just say data service result equals to dot so we get in a blog list. And also bear in mind also the naming convention also matters. When you're having an asynchronous call, just make sure that you put async at the end. It really makes life a lot more easier for you to differentiate between your synchronous methods and your asynchronous methods. So just make sure that you do that, just to keep, it makes your code neat. So when someone sees async, they can say, oh, I have to await it. So you can see there, this is an awaiting method. And then what we can now do is, at this point, you just have to map it. Okay, so you can now say data service, the data service result dot for each. So let's just map it there to say, so we're gonna create a model here and say is equals to a list of a new list of blog lists view model. Okay, we have something like this, which is quite good for us. So the next thing you want to do is you just want to add this model dot add. In there you just say new. You have new. Sorry, you have new. Remember we're passing in a list in here. We can just say name is equals to x dot name, and then we have ratings, which is equals to x dot ratings. I'm just gonna like make this a lot more readable so that we can also see what I'm doing here. Okay, so in there what I'm actually doing is I'm looping through. Let me just put this in structure so that you can see what I'm doing actually is I'm looping through this actual result. So the for each will loop through it, and as it's looping through, I'm creating a record of a new record of blog list view model and adding it to the model, and that's what we're gonna take into the actual view component. So we can now say return view, and inside of the view I want to give it a name. So what name should we give it? We give it index because that will be our default view component, and then we can now pass in the model. Okay, so now we have our view component sorted. The next thing we want to do now is to actually implement the view. So how do we get the view to go on? So in here, to create a view component view, it depends. You can put it in where you want it to really be used, but if it's actually going to be used in different places, the best thing is to put in under the shared. So inside of your shared, you can actually just specify your folder. Okay, and the folder name will be called components. That's the first thing you have to specify. Inside of your components folder, then you can now specify the name of your view component, which is blog list. So we'll create another folder in there and call it blog list. Okay, blog list. So pay attention to that. Blog list, that's what it's called. So don't worry about the suffix, that doesn't really matter. It just has to be components, and inside of component just create a blog list, and then in there you can now add your view, which is going to be index, because that's what we call the name of our view there. So we have a view there. Now our view actually takes a model, which is lowercase, which is a list of blog list view model. You can see right there, right? And then what we can now do is we can now let's just go online. I would like to use a bootstrap table. So let's just say bootstrap table. Let's see if we can find something we can use, because bootstrap is already plugged in for us inside of so we can use something like this for displaying, or let's use dark mode. Dark mode. Anyway, let's just copy a table. Let's go back here, let's paste that in here, and what we just want to do is we're just going to say name, okay, ratings, and then we can just say stars. I want to call it that. Okay, so that will be the stuff, and in there we just have to take all of this out. We don't need all of this, we just need one of this. Okay, because we're gonna replicate it. So in there you just create a for each, for each, like that, each, and then you can just say var blog in model. Okay, and then in there we just paste in our HTML, and what we can now do is we can actually just come up with the model. Say model dot just make sure this is capital letter M, because it's not gonna work, remember. capital letter M, and then we can just say, sorry, it's not the model, rather we're looping through this, so it's gonna be the blog. So blog dot name, and then we have at blog dot ratings, and then at blog dot get rating stars. Okay, so that's actually it. And then in there we can actually just go further to do something else, since we, you know, there's an identity there that they want us to increment on. You can actually do something like that, where you can now have like a variable here to say count equals 1. Then in there you can just say add count, then you can just increment it at the end there. Okay, so that is actually just the, you know, the flow of things, where we have our view now. Okay, we have our view now. So the next thing is we need to use it somewhere, right? So what we can do is we can still use it in our about us page if we want to, or anywhere we choose to use it. I'm just going to use the about us page as an example, right? So yeah, I can now stick in and say await. So component is what you call, and then you can actually just say invoke. You can see there, invoke it asynchronously. Okay, and then our component name is blog list. So we have it. So let's run this again and see what we get. Seems like there is actually an error somewhere. I'm just gonna say no. Okay, let's just go back. Oh, okay, there's actually an error here. Oh, okay. So you just have to bear in mind, whenever you have, you know, your for each, you don't have to really specify the @ anymore, because it's only when it's between tags then you need to use the @. But if it's still within the, you know, the C# implementation, then it should be fine without using the @ So just bear that in mind. Okay, let's run it now. The app is up, you can see right there. And if we go to about us page, you can see there that we've got our table showing up now for the view component, and that is beautiful. So you can see that, you know, things are really making sense now. And the good thing about this now is that I don't have to, you know, worry about rewriting the same thing all over and over again. I can actually just call this view component anywhere I want to. I can actually just say, like, and I'll give you an example quickly now. So I can copy this as it is and actually just stick it straight in the home, you know, in the home view page. So if I go there, I can also just put it right here. Okay, let's rerun this. You can see right there the page is up and it's on our home, and if I click on about, same story. So that is actually it for this session. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Now you can actually see how to set up your controllers, set up your models, you know, differentiate between your view models and your domain entities, and as well as being able to, you know, come up with few view components that you can reuse all across, and as well as your partial views where you can reuse in multiple places as you wish to. And I would actually see you in the, you know, in the next coming one, which is going to be on identity. So this is mostly just touching around how you create, you know, access roles and, you know, assign roles, you know, to users. We're just going to set up something quick and straight to the point, so you guys can actually understand how you can start using identity in your MVC application. And I will see you in my next video. Keep well.